Well, I'd like to introduce myself. Joe Wiley with...
Thad Austin. Allow ourselves to introduce ourselves.
We're making deviled eggs today. Call it the Austin Wiley Kitchen Cooking Extravaganza.
Well, it's an exciting time here at the Austin residence. There's been a lot of commotion. There's been a lot of excitement.
A lot of night court.
A lot of night court. So, first question for you, Joe. What have you done to this point to get yourself ready to make these deviled eggs?
Well, the key for deviled eggs is first you need to hard boil the eggs. You need to bring your water to a rapid boil. You need to add your eggs, presumably 10, maybe 12 eggs, depending on a variety of factors, such as how many eggs you have left in the carton, or how many eggs you want to prepare, because you're going to slice the egg in half. So if you have 10 eggs, then you will have 20 deviled eggs.
It's pure math.
So we boiled the eggs. Now we're ready to move the eggs out of the boiling water into some cold water. We're going to peel the eggs, and then we're going to halve the eggs.
Let's get right to it.
Peel, then halve. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Thad, how are you feeling about this endeavor?
I think that the wheels might fall off at any given point in time.
Okay, that's not an optimistic view, but it's candid, and I appreciate it.
Just like the cooking shows, we have some deviled eggs that are already prepared. The problem is they came out with...
I almost had a little burn on the leg there.
Kitchen safety 101.
Thad is also making some cookies.
Family show, so obscenities were bleeped out.
Beautiful, beautiful cookies here. Joe's just demonstrating his banshee call. Joe, your technique for removing the eggs out of the pot seems unconventional, but highly skilled.
I was thinking impeccable. See, obviously you're not going to reach in here with your fingers into boiling water.
Obviously not.
And you don't want to use an oven mitt because you don't want to soil an oven mitt. But using spoons, like so, you gracefully grab the egg and then you can cradle. See,
Cradle the egg.
that egg could be...
You have a good grip on that egg. You have a good grip on that egg, Joe. Okay,
it's a variety of
is that all of them?
plyometrics. So that's all of them. So we've
Okay.
got them in our water because we're going to have to peel them. Okay?
Yeah.
And now the water's obviously already turned warm on me, so I'm going to get some cold water.
Okay, you washed off those eggs.
I'm going to wash
We're
them
going
off.
to have 50 eggs.
Thad, you have your cookies here.
Right.
Do you have any sort of tips you'd like to share regarding baking cookies?
Well, the basic philosophy that I choose to live my life by is that you got to allow for the cooling process. These cookies at this point are somewhat gooey, and for that reason, they need to harden up a little bit, solidify, and then once that happens, then we can move them to another proper serving location.
So you said you live your life by that.
That's pretty much the way I live my life.
So does that mean that you let your life cool before you do
I let
anything?
my life solidify.
Solidify.
Yeah.
Steep, deep
Before I move.
words.
Now, Thad, do you ever eat part of your life before cooking it? Because earlier you were eating the raw cookie dough.
That's another way that I live my life, I guess.
And no one can blame you for that, Thad. So Joe, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm peeling eggs, Gabe, and basically, after the egg is hard boiled, it will firm up the yolk on the inside, but to make a deviled egg, you have to get to the egg's outer shell, which is protected by this shell, and it's real simple. All you do is just kind of crack and then just start peeling through.
Crack and peel through.
We're
Two-step process.
yeah, I mean it's really simple.
Crack,
And-
peel through.
And the shell should just remove easily from the egg.
Last night, Joe had 50 eggs.
Joe did not have 50 eggs. If Joe had 50 eggs, we would be calling the funeral home at this moment.
Which we thought we were going to have to call the funeral home this morning because
We did. We
Thad was a little tardy in waking up, and we assumed that he was dead.
we did for a moment think Thad might be dead, but he's alive and well, as we see right
Now,
here.
see, look. See how much easier they move as one unit now?
Yeah, you're
This
exactly
is the whole
right.
cooling process.
It's the cooling process. Now, Joe, how many times have you made these deviled eggs that you're making here today?
Well, they're always a big hit at office
Funerals.
potlucks. So I think I've made them twice for the office potluck, and one other occasion. Because growing up, the Wileys would always get together on Christmas night, and invariably, if you were behind certain family members in the buffet line, they would always tell themselves, "Now go ahead and be sure to take all the deviled eggs you want, because there won't be any left when you come through a second time."
Mm-hmm.
And I would be behind people that would basically take the last of the deviled eggs, leaving me with none. Zero, nil,
Yeah.
zilch, nada, no eggs. So
No
I never
eggs.
really grew an appreciation for these deviled eggs until well after my college years.
Because you never got the chance to eat them.
Never got the chance. Exactly.
So you decided to take matters in your own hands and make them yourselves.
Exactly. And we're going to be mixing some ingredients that will make the inside of the deviled egg here in a minute. And you will find that these ingredients are very easily found on the shelves of any local Kroger, Piggly Wiggly, Walmart Superstore,
Even Piggly Wiggly?
even the pig. Speaking of pigs, we were at a barbecue store last night. Barbecue restaurant, really. And they were smoking a 200-pound pig. And this pig had been cooking for like 18 to 22 hours.
Would
That's a lot of smoking. That's a lot of cooking.
Well, I still smell like pig smoke,
As do us all.
which is different from cigarette smoke.
Not as toxic.
Not quite as toxic, exactly.
Now, Joe, do you have any insight into why they called the deviled egg the deviled egg?
Well, I really don't, outside of Katy Perry, the popular singer,
Oh, yes.
with such songs as, Firecracker and Teenage Dream. She grew up with her parents who were missionaries, and they actually called them angel eggs. So I wouldn't really get caught up in the whole deviled eggs terminology inside of that. The eggs are just simply eggs.
They're just eggs. There's nothing satanic,
No.
devilish about them.
Don't be embarrassed to call them deviled eggs either.
No, it's just a turn of phrase is what you're saying.
Now, Gabe, if you're thinking to yourself, well, what is he doing now? Well, I'll tell you exactly what I'm
Please
doing.
tell us, Joe.
I'm washing off the excess shell that I wasn't able to get earlier, which I'm also cooling the egg, running it under cool water.
What does cooling it do?
Well, cooling it will allow for me to cut the egg, and I'm hoping that we can get some solidification such as we had with the cookies. Because we're going to need to do some mixing after we do some cutting. If my assistant could grab out a knife for me to cut these eggs, that would be most excellent. Are we going to use this tray here with, Sure. It's going to be a final tray. Thank you very much.
This is a look at the tray.
So, Gabe, we're going to actually,
It has a nice Christmas house on it.
the key to cut, you don't want to actually cut the yolk. So, cut in, you want to have the egg pretty much all the way around, but make sure you don't slice through because we don't want to get to the yolk. So we want to be kind of very delicate in our cutting.
You have to handle these eggs with care.
And see, after you do that cut, then what we're looking for is just a nice, even open right there. And we're just going to set those aside,
Just set them there.
and we're going to return to that in a moment.
Now let's get a look at your ingredients here, Joe. Let's get a look here. Let's see what we have going. A little paprika. Some Kroger brand yellow mustard. Basic mustard. Miracle Whip, of course. Miracle Whip, I should say. And Vlasic sweet relish. And these are all the ingredients you use, Joe. This is it.
This is it. Plus the, obviously the yolk, which I'm pulling out. You can see. We're going to just do that motion right there. Because this is what we're going to end up filling. And see, you can kind of see it separating right in there.
Yep.
After it separates, it should just plop right out.
Just plops right out.
Yeah. You know, if you need to make the sound effects, you just want to be very gentle because you don't want your egg to rip because
No one wants that.
That's what's going to be your presentation. And if you're going to this family cookout like we are, it's all in the presentation.
Ripped eggs leave a bad taste in one's mouth.
Exactly.
Now, Thad just opened one in a different way and did a very good job. Now, right here in this house, in this kitchen, we have a delightful aroma. Two aromas blending together. The aroma of the cookies and the aroma of the hard-boiled eggs. Two aromas that I've never smelled together, but once they are together, leaves me all at the same time inspired and confused.
Why do you say that, Gabe? What inspires you?
That's the confusing part.
And what confuses you?
That's also the confusing part.
That you're
Joe.
inspired, possibly.
Exactly. So, the cutting technique. How long did it take you to perfect your cutting method?
It's hard to say, Gabe. It could have been... Some people could perfect this possibly in a 3-day weekend, retreat. Others, it may take 100 hours. It's really hard to tell. I mean, there's different techniques. There's different methods. There are ways to cut that would make chefs proud.
Joe, you're right. There are two methods. And, in fact, if you're interested in those two methods, then Southwestern Books has I'm sure, a curriculum just for you.
Exactly.
We recommend Southwestern Books here.
Southwestern Books is an excellent opportunity to get out on your own, to grab life by the horns one summer, or many summers, and really take charge of your life.
Culture and heritage.
Develop a good work ethic. Meet some celebrities along the way.
You never know who you'll meet.
Or what they'll be wearing.
Exactly.
That's certainly true.
Okay, so after you pull out all the eggs...
Okay, you pulled out all the eggs.
You pull out all the egg yolks. Then we're going to spoon in a cup of Miracle Whip. See how I just, basically, you gotta kind of use your hands on the apron. I'm gonna spoon in the cup, and we're gonna need
How much you need?
that is an excellent question. I think we'll just use a little bit of mustard, and a little bit of salt. About a cup's worth. A little bit more, possibly. A little bit of relish and a little bit of paprika.
What does the paprika add?
It adds a little bit of spice to the top.
A little bit of flavor?
Yep. I'm going to spoon that in, and you want to come get a close-up look on this, on what we're doing here. We're going to use a little bit of the... Oh yeah, that's good right there. See, we'll just spoon in a little bit right there, okay? And the salt, you don't want to use too much salt. That's probably about Probably good with the salt. Then the mustard. I don't know if we've got a... Fresh ingredients are always key, which that's kind of, maybe a little bit of mustard.
You seem very inexact in your apportionments. You just have a handle on how much you need.
It's sometimes you really get in that really get it. Yeah. Give the people some.
Mix that all up in there. Real nice. That's good.
Really get it mixed.
Okay, now what's the next step, Joe?
Well, the next step, after he gets it good mixed, we're going to carefully spoon in the mixture on top of our cavities that we've dug out. After you spoon those in, then you're going to sprinkle the paprika, chill for an hour, or depending on how long you have until you go to your function. And then you're done.
And that's it.
And basically, when you arrive at the party, people will finish the tray very quickly.
In your experience, how quickly does the tray last?
It averages 7 minutes. Gabe.
7 minutes. That's pretty fast.
Or it could average, depending on how many eggs you have, it's a ratio. If you have 20 halves, it's about 7 minutes. If you have 30 eggs, that could be about 10 minutes.
Now, with the halves, what do you do with
What's the haves and the have-nots?
the have-nots?
That's correct.
Now, is cooking a cathartic process for you, Joe?
Define cathartic.
Well, cathartic. Like, is it a healing? Do you get enjoyment? Do you get?
Am I healed when I cook?
Yeah.
I can't really say that I've ever felt any healing. I can say that I've always felt a hunger in the depths of my stomach for what I'm cooking. I'm always encouraged that the time you put in will be felt by the joyness of your stomach later.
And that's something certainly to take heart in.
We want to take this time to thank our sponsors. Miracle Whip from Kraft Foods provides a nice blend of joyness and white, good tasting goodness. Vlasic Sweet Relish. Vlasic is a ConAgra food. Actually, I take that back. It's a Pinnacle food from Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Straight out of New Jersey.
We also want to take time for Kroger Yellow Mustard. We want to take time for McCormick Paprika. And we also want to take time for the chickens that laid these eggs.
God bless the chickens.
All right. Okay. Thank you,
now,
Thad.
Let's see you fill these egg
Now,
halves.
see, there's really no method. You kind of just spoon a little bit in.
What is there a particular way to fill the cavity that best gets the job done?
Not really. You're just kind of giving a nice little spoon in, because if you leave enough of the egg, people will have that for their fingers to go straight to
They
their
need to have
mouth.
something to grip.
So,
I get it.
you're providing the people with a nice little bit of goodness here, and you really can't be ashamed of how much you put in, because you're putting in something that really tastes good.
That's what the people want.
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you had a deviled egg, Joe?
Well, I would like to say that I do remember it, but I think I was eating it in such haste because I didn't know if there would be another one to eat, given the nature of the holiday, Christmas season that I discussed earlier. That I don't really think I had time to appreciate it.
Sure.
But how about yourself? I mean, do you remember?
I do remember. And for me, it wasn't a pleasant experience for me.
Really? You're not a big fan?
But no, I'm not a particular fan of the deviled egg. However, I believe there's a lesson in all this, Joe.
Yeah, what's that?
At your family gatherings, people ate all the deviled eggs before you can get to them.
Yes.
You know, that's tough. That's a tough bag to handle. And you could have cried about it.
No,
You could
there's
have,
no crying.
you know, you could have said, "Oh, poor me. I've never gotten any deviled eggs. You know, out with the deviled eggs for the rest of my life. I don't care." You could have gotten bitter. It could have embittered you.
It could have been.
But that's not what happened, Joe. Instead of crying over eating eggs, you decided to make your own.
That's exactly right. So that's the lesson. Now, you take your deviled eggs, and it says you need to chill them for an hour. So we're going to basically just slide in these deviled eggs. Slide them right in. We're going to let them chill for about 19 minutes because we're going to be journeying up to Montgomery Bell State Park in Tennessee, west of Nashville, for the Austin family reunion.
All right, Joe.
We want to thank Thad, the assistant, who's gone upstairs.
Thank you, Thad.
We want to thank Gabe, who narrates and asks the tough questions. And we also, want to thank the ingredients.
Thank you, ingredients. Thank you, chickens.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe, for your highly informative demonstration.
And you can always send us a, comment card for how we can improve our deviled eggs experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.